The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Everybody has their own story and their own journey to share. Every journey conceals another journey within its lines, the path not taken and the forgotten angle. Listen to the stories from others sharing their triumphs and struggles that led them to where they are today. Welcome to Voice Unbound, where I have the privilege of bringing women on who have, at some point in their life, have lost their voice, have lost their identity through circumstances. And sometimes they're brought on by ourselves, which most are. Circumstances are created by us mostly, and how we accept them and how we go forward with them. But I love being able to let these women come on and use their voice, because now they are on the other side most of the time. Sometimes they're still navigating it. But today I have Carla, and I am so excited to have her here with us. Carla, I just want you to bring your story to life today for us.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. Um, I'm Carla Preston Boyer, and I was born in a small little town in Ontario, Canada. And I was born into a very religious, spiritual family, and which was great.
Mhm.
Later in my life, I didn't think it was so great.
Yeah. Isn't
But
that
the
usually the
time
way? Yeah.
came, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and But all along, as a little girl, I felt, I don't know, just not part of, not like I didn't fit in, there was something void,
That's a
you
big
know?
word.
Right. And I was the youngest of five kids. So it seemed like I had like seven parents
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
or
Yeah.
six parents, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, so everything flowed down to the youngest, although
Mm,
many people think that being the youngest is like the prime real estate, right? Of
yeah.
get
Yeah. You're gonna
everything.
get spoiled. You're gonna, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I must say, like I always say that I was the youngest, but my brother next oldest to me was the baby. We
Mm,
joke about
he's a
that.
boy.
He's a boy.
Yeah.
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 Um, And, I often say, like, depending where I was in my recovery uh, phase, my family life looked entirely different, right? When
Hmm.
I first got
Yes.
sober, it was like my life as a child was horrible.
Yeah.
Looking back now, I see that, I had a pretty good childhood. My
Yeah.
parents did a really good job doing the best they could, right?
And
They owned a family business and they did a really fine job of setting a foundation for us.
and I think that's most kids, and I know in my life too, I had a beautiful childhood, but we don't really see it till we are older and look back. And
Right,
just how blessed we were and how well we were taken care of and needs were met when we thought we weren't getting all the things we wanted, right?
right. And I had a few weeks ago, I had a light bulb moment that
Ah,
um because of that void in
mm-hmm.
my heart, in my soul,
Mm,
I don't think it would have mattered how much the I
right,
love yous, the doting, the you're so beautiful, whatever that
right,
is that
right.
my soul required. I don't think it would have mattered how much that came from my family, from my parents,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't the human stuff I needed. It was the
Exactly.
spiritual connection I needed.
Yeah.
So I went on to, through my childhood, just feeling that and not knowing how to navigate life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That feeling. Yeah.
Right. And I felt like, um, I talk about this in my book. I felt like everyone got an owner's manual and everyone was doing life. And I didn't either get one, or if I did get one, it was written in a language I
That
didn't
you didn't
understand.
understand.
Right.
I like that. Yeah.
So I'm like, what? Like I just kind of walked around in a fog.
Yeah.
um, until 12 years old.
Mm,
And a cousin of mine and I went, and an older friend of ours was going to buy some booze. And we
mm,
were going to their barn, and wouldn't this be fun? And it was
mm.
going to be a secret,
Yeah.
right? So it
Yeah.
was,
And at 12 years old, that feels so good, doesn't it? To have
oh,
a big
doesn't it?
secret. Yeah.
Right? And defying my parents,
Mm-hmm.
growing up in our family home, drinking was
Taboo.
forbidden.
Yeah.
So we went, and I can describe in absolute detail that day. Like, I
Yeah.
remember it so vividly. And something lit up in me that day, Laura, that I can't explain, but
Mm,
I suddenly, um I fit in.
yeah.
It's funny.
Somebody sees me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was magical.
Mm,
And that filled the void.
mm-hmm.
And so it was like, now I was determined to fill that
Yeah.
up.
Stay connected with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
And that feeling became my God.
mm.
I didn't know it.
No, you're too
That,
young. I mean, you're just like, oh, this feels good. And they see
right,
me. And yeah.
right. And something outside of me feels so wonderful. And I chased that I want more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what that was, right?
No, no, you don't.
Yeah. So, um, till I was 50 or 51, um, so 51, when I got sober, it was that feeling. And it wasn't all just alcohol, it was whatever gave me that sense of
Hi.
feeling of
Mm-hmm.
relief, of the
Mm,
feelings of shame, guilt, fear, remorse,
mm-hmm.
whatever, right?
And I
And
think, from that void aspect, as you got older, like you said, all those words became just top of the cake, top of the cake. You kept fear, all the things started adding up. So you had to add something else to cover that up, that feeling,
yeah,
right? You had to keep adding to it. So that was, you said you started at 12 years old. And that's a young age, and I can relate to that because my daughter started at that young age, smoking, drinking, behind my back, and it has carried on in her life, and it has destroyed a lot of things possible. But as you got older, what were things that you were doing? Did you go to college? Did you carry on like things were normal in your life? Did your parents find out? That's a lot of people. Did your family ever know that you were drinking?
so I didn't drink. I can't say I drank every day at 12 years old. Like, it wasn't that kind of thing. But as I got
Uh-huh.
older and teenager, the partying and the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that I thought was just normal teenage stuff. But
Exactly. We brush it off to that. Excuse it to that, right?
exactly. Yes, my parents found out one night when I didn't come home at, I think
Oh,
I was 14 years old, and I didn't come home. And boy, oh boy, to make my
oh,
mother cry, my mom,
that's awful.
oh, that just hurt my heart so bad.
Mm,
And my dad was out looking for me, and
frantically for you.
yeah, and the next morning came to pick me up, and my mom was there, and my aunt and uncle were visiting from down south. They were there.
Oh,
And I'm sure I just reeked of the night before booze.
mm,
And it was so embarrassing. And that the pain of seeing my mom's face of not sleeping all night and wondering what
mm,
it was. And um, yeah, so they found out. And
mm,
you know, just doing that all weekend, and then getting up for church on a Sunday morning, and
hmm.
the masks, right? The masks,
Yes, yes.
and knowing on a soul level that I was not living
That
in,
one-on-one with him.
yeah, or even
Yeah.
with myself.
Yeah. With yourself. Yes.
Myself,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yes, and so you y that was what, 15? And then how are you doing at school? How is school going?
I could not do school. I didn't relate to people. I did not fit in. I did not, thank God I had a group of cousins and we're all around the same age. So automatically had a friend
A base, yeah,
group.
yeah,
Um, but even still, I felt like there was just not a real soul connection
yeah, yeah,
because it came from within me. I
yeah,
couldn't receive is what
right,
I learned.
right.
So as much as Laura, you could say to me, Carla, you are so wonderful. I couldn't hear.
It stopped right there, yeah, yeah. You weren't
Right.
allowing anything in because you didn't believe that.
That's right.
You didn't believe in you and who you are and who God created you to be in his image, you just thought, "He missed me somehow.
Yeah.
I missed the boat." Yeah, yeah,
God
like
just
you said, I didn't
created
get the
something.
manual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I like that expression because I think there's a lot of people out there feeling that same feeling. They feel like, oh, they get it, but I don't see it. How do I miss it? How am I not seeing it? And it takes a lot of work to get there. So, as you went along in school, did you graduate?
Not at first. Not
Mm-mm.
at first. I left high school. No, I didn't leave high school. I was kicked out,
Oh, okay.
expelled because
Yeah.
I hardly ever went to school.
Mm,
I would go to school and then leave school.
leaving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would go get attendance and then leave,
Yeah.
skip school, and there was so much of that they finally just expelled me.
You need to be gone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt so victimized.
Of course. I mean, why would they want to do that to you,
What are they
right?
doing to
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I eventually found a little job and you know, and then a gentleman who I have to mention his name was Bill Allen, and he was a
Mm,
principal. He had been a principal of a school, a local school, and he had started a program that is really well grounded in Ontario now, but it had just started, and it was called the Life Experience Alternative School.
oh, wow.
And it was originally for people who wanted to go back to high school but didn't want to go into the high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he approached me and he said, "Do you want to come to this school?" And it was held in a big old mansion. And it was just a lot
Ah,
of, you know, women who left school early to have children or whatever.
right. Right.
And so I went back and I got my diploma.
Ah,
It was just wonderful. And I
yeah.
accepted there because it was quieter and, it
Yeah.
had a
Different
sense
atmosphere.
of
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You were seen.
routine.
Yeah. So you got your diploma, and then what took place in life after that?
And then my my parents allowed me to work at their family business.
Oh,
And I worked there for a while. And then we formed my brother and my dad owned that business and they brought me in a partnership for a little while until I
mm-hmm.
totally destroyed those relationships. Um yeah, I was ungrateful. I stole time from them. I did all those things that someone out of control can do.
Mm,
I had a baby and just went through horrible depression and eventually left. And then I got a job, somehow got a job while in the
mm,
depths of depression and despair at our local mental health agency.
mm,
And it was just working part-time and the role was a peer support worker or like in a management role as a
right.
peer. And I'm
Right.
like, this is so great. They want me to have experiences with mental health issues before
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get
And here you
that.
are in the deepest of your depression, and they want you to
Yeah, and
come on board.
it was 14 hours a week and I could pick my own hours. So I
Oh,
could do,
wow.
3 hours a day if I wanted
Yeah.
or and it was just exactly what I needed.
Mm,
So it was a real, help in getting me through that dark time. but it took a
That's
long time to get through
well, you
that.
know who placed you there then.
It was such a God thing.
Yeah.
It's a really long story, but it was so much a God thing. Yeah,
So you had a baby,
I had
and
a big
you still had, and that's your daughter or son or
son. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
he's 28 and wonderful.
Oh, I love it. And then what took place? Did you marry or did you?
Yeah, I got married and then we had our son and just it, our marriage was great until I wasn't fine.
Mm,
And I just was so depressed and not realizing that part of it was clinical depression, but I believe now part of it was not. It was part of it was the addiction.
yeah. So you were still drinking
Hmm. And
and
doing
did and
other
they didn't know?
pardon.
They didn't know?
Um, I mean, my husband knew, but there was other things. I mean, my goodness, it went from laxative abuse to over exercise to
Uh,
extreme dieting to, oh my goodness. I even talk in my book about tanning beds. I mean, I couldn't get enough of tanning beds to where I would,
where you felt like you looked good. Yeah.
yeah, it just give
Yeah.
me more, right? And then
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever that gives me inside. And
Mm.
yeah, it destroyed my skin with
Oh,
that.
of course. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I mean, addictions of any, that's what people think addictions are only drugs. But addictions are, I got a piece of hair in my face, sorry. He's like tickling my nose. But addiction can be anything. I mean, like you said, the tanning bed, the food, how you eat and not eat, and how you look at yourself. And so those addictions start feeding into your desires. But alcohol being probably the top of that addiction, and then all that fed off of there because you just couldn't find who you were, your identity in Christ. What was the breaking point for you?
like, so I was separated, going toward heading for divorce. Um, I was couch surfing between, well, not couch surfing, bedroom surfing between my mom's and a friend of mine. And I but the timing, I don't think I had lost my job at that point yet,
Yeah,
but it was coming close.
coming. Yeah.
Um, I was just absolutely broken
Mm,
inside, and I had no idea what to do. But I had been in a 12-step program for families and continued to go to meetings.
mm-hmm,
And then I went into a closed 12-step meeting.
mm,
No, sorry, I went into a speaker meeting of a 12-step program where anybody could come. So it was an
yeah,
open meeting.
yeah.
And I kept going there, and it was like it took me a 45-minute drive,
Mm,
and
wow.
I didn't like going, but it's something kept
Something kept pulling you there.
speaking into me. And one night, a person spoke, who's a friend of mine. She spoke, and it was like she spoke into me.
Mm,
And something just changed in me. And someone that night, I can't remember who it was, said to me, there's a questionnaire you can do online to see if you have a drinking problem.
mm.
And I went home and I did that questionnaire. And Laura, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I had no idea.
And most don't. That's the thing. You're so in it that you don't see the problem.
The thing for me was, and I just, like, I never drank the amount that I saw other people drink, and
Right.
and would see them and go, "Oh yeah, right
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
definitely."
Yeah.
But for me, it didn't take a lot
Mm.
to give me the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But what was happening now was the switch had flipped.
Mm.
So now the consequences, it wasn't giving me what I needed.
Right.
It was just destroying my life,
Yeah.
whatever the substance was.
Mm.
So now the feelings of guilt, shame, remorse, fear,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, were there all the time.
Mm.
No matter what I was using, not using,
It
whatever,
didn't matter.
it didn't matter. And now I was on the verge of losing my job. I had no money.
Mm.
It was it was just complete devastation of my soul.
Yeah. And don't you think, and I see this so often in these situations, that God brings us to the lowest of lows so that we will
Absolutely.
open our eyes to what we need to see.
Yeah, on our knees, on
Yeah.
my yeah. Um it, for me, I don't learn when I'm happily skipping along. I just
No.
don't. I
No.
don't. I liked, I hope I'm as grateful in those moments as I am when I'm on my knees. I just don't think I am.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah, I don't look around and go, okay, I stop. What is it that I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
I give up. I
Mm-hmm.
surrender.
Surrender is a big word. Mm-hmm.
Please guide me.
Mm-hmm.
Take the wheel. I love that song. Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And we have to let him take charge. There's so many parts of us that give him only bits and pieces because we're like, we'll take care of the other part. We can do this
Hmm.
on our own. You
Hmm.
handle this and I'll handle this. And that's not what he wants. He wants us to give it all. And I'll often say, we a lot of times say lay it at his feet. And I'll say, no, I'm gonna put it in your hands. I want it to be in your hands to control, to do whatever you see fit in my life for that. Because there's many situations in each of our lives that we're always dealing with, and I love the book. I don't know if you've ever read this book here, Draw the Circle, the 40-hour prayer challenge. You need
No,
to get it. It's
I
so
will.
much. If you're a prayer warrior and you love to talk to God, this teaches you a way and how putting your prayers in circles and how to it's just a whole I've read it already, but I'm going through it again because I felt it was something that I needed in this time in my life. And it's a beautiful way of being able to communicate with him because a lot of times, like I said, we only give him parts. We don't give him all of what our needs, what we're wanting in our life. He knows, I mean, but he wants us to go in depth on that with him. So as you came to your knees and realized, hey, I got to get help and I've got to make a change here, I'm sure it wasn't easy. And were you like, next day I'm sober, I'm going to do this and do the sobriety thing? Or did it take some time before you finally said, okay, I'm putting this away for good?
I didn't drink. Um, I haven't drank from that point on.
Oh,
However, it didn't take it like it wasn't an easy surrender,
right.
right? Because I remember being 2 years sober and going, this doesn't work. This
I
isn't the way
still
it's
feel the
supposed to
same.
be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I remember driving toward town and going, I think I'm just going to go get a drink because
Mm,
this doesn't work.
mm,
Thing was, I hadn't truly believed and trusted in God.
mm,
I was fearful of God,
mm,
right? And so I remember distinctly one day being just running to the bathroom and slamming the door and going down on my knees and just being so angry with
mm,
God. Be
mm.
like, what is going on? I don't know you. I just don't
Yeah.
know you. And I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I was on my knees on the side of the tub, and I had my elbows resting on the side of the tub, and I was sobbing. And the tears were streaming down my hands, obviously, like down my cheeks and on my.
Mhm.
And I looked at my hands and I thought, if I get a cut on my hand, my body knows what to do with that to
Mhm.
heal it. And I don't know. I'm so confused about God. I don't know anything at this point. I'm just going to let it all go about what I know of God. And I'm going to allow God to show me who he is.
Mhm.
And at that moment, it was like, okay, there's this an energy, a godlike energy that knows exactly what to do with that cut to heal it. And that same energy can heal my heart and heal my soul. And
Mhm.
I'm going to start there.
Mhm.
And that it was just like I had to just stop with my limited
Beliefs, yeah.
beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like it was God was too small
Right? Well,
in
we
my
box
head.
him in. We box him in. And
Exactly.
we don't see the big picture of what he can and will do. We're like, again, limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And sometimes we want things in an instant. Like, I didn't change. What's going on here? Why haven't things changed? I stopped the alcohol like I told you I would, but I'm still feeling the same way.
Right.
Well, I don't have your heart yet. I don't have your mind yet. Don't have all of you.
Right. You're still holding that little
Mhm.
piece back. Yeah.
Now, did your marriage continue or
My first marriage ended and
okay.
I remarried.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's wonderful. We
that's
had
awesome.
some in my first year of sobriety, we had some really hard times. Not as a couple, but
But just working through all of that.
yeah, our house burned down 2 days after we got married.
No.
We lost everything.
Mm,
And a month after that, um, my husband's son passed away by suicide,
mm,
which was just,
devastating.
yeah,
So if that's not a true testament of how a couple can weather the storms, and your faith in God to get you through them. And I think that's something in this book it teaches you, we often pray or we hear people, Lord, just get me out of this, just get me out of this. How about get me through it? Because there's some lesson in there, as ugly as this path is and the devastation of it. There's a lesson, maybe not for y'all, but for someone, or maybe it is for you, or we may never know the lesson in it, the reasons of why. But it's built you stronger. It's given you
absolutely.
courage like you've never had before, probably.
In that moment, um, I mean, it just ended up that I was with the police officer when we went into the room to tell my husband,
Mm,
um, knowing that this was going to change his life forever,
forever.
or be the same.
Yeah.
And it was just, I just prayed, you know, "I- what am I going to say? There's
Hmm.
nothing I can,
How do you tell him? Yeah.
yeah. The police officer ended up telling him. Um, and I just hugged him and I was just praying like, God, just look, I just be here. Just be here.
Hmm.
And my husband just said, I don't know how to do this.
Mm-mm.
Don't know how to do this. And this is not like Carla could not do this. Carla could
No.
not, this could not come from me. But all I whispered was one breath at a time. Like we'll
Hmm.
just breathe one breath at a time. And that's how we'll get through this, right?
Hmm.
Um, that that I feel like that flowed through me. That was not
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
something Carla
Because
could
and
do.
sometimes you don't have the words, and that was all you had, and that was all he wanted you to say.
Yeah,
That was all he needed to hear in that moment.
yeah. There's
Uh,
nothing. There's nothing like it'll be okay is not,
Not okay.
no, it's not
No,
be okay.
it's not okay. Just you being there as the support and just being with him. Words don't always have to be. You can just your touch, your knowing that you're in the next room, walking this walk with him was what probably sustained him in that and his relationship with God. That's the most important thing. Is that the one-on-one with him. Like and like I've known, if we don't have the one-on-one. We know him, but if we don't know him, we
Right.
don't we don't survive in the through the things that we are put through. And just because you know God and are a Christian and believe in Jesus doesn't mean life is going to be easy,
No, that's for sure.
right?
But it means we have someone beside us, within us.
There's no void.
There's no void.
Yeah.
It's
There's
connect.
no alone.
Yeah. It, um, th- if I could sum up,
Hmm.
because I have a book. If I could
Yes.
sum up what the story is within my book, it's like disconnection to connection.
Mm,
Because the disconnection I didn't even know I had.
no, and we don't when
Mm.
we're going through things like that. And I think another thing before you talk about your book, I want you to share about that, please. And, I hope and pray that you too had is the community around you, people in your lives that are going to encourage you, stand by you, may not say a word, but they're there in your corner and how valuable that is.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
share with us how God laid this book on your heart to write.
Um, so I've been a writer for a while.
Ah,
Yeah, I wrote another book years ago when I was in the depths of depression.
yeah.
And and then over the last 5 years, I I've been just writing and sharing on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And and I started several books over the last 5 years, but they never really materialized. And then one day I do my morning meditation and prayer, and it was like everything just the first paragraphs just came down into the,
Download.
yeah, the cover, mostly black and white. It's called I Drank. I knew that would be the name.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I drank.
Yeah.
And it just started coming, and I just picked up my laptop and started writing right then and there.
Wow.
And it was the next 7 days of just long, long days, but I didn't feel tired. I was just so, it was almost like I was taking dictation, is what I
Yeah.
say. Now that was about 2/3 of the book. And then I started looking back at what I had written, the other books I had started, and
Mm-hmm.
they all blended.
Wow.
So I just kind of fit them in
Mm-hmm.
because they were all connected.
That's so cool.
Then the part two of the book is a time in my life where I was going through, like not that long ago, when I was going through a really hard time.
Mm,
And I sat down one morning and I was just by myself. I had my laptop and I thought, I imagined God sitting across from me,
mm,
room. And I just closed my eyes and I would type a question, and then I would just allow myself to type an answer. So it's
mm.
like a two-way conversation.
Right?
And that's part two of the book. And
Oh,
yeah, because it felt like I don't know why prayer has to be one way.
right.
Never occurred to me that it could be a two-way conversation before that time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, if I'm open to listening,
Hmm.
right? So that's part two. But the book is called I Drank, and my son redesigned the cover. And so in the cover, I'm sorry, I only have the proof here, but it says Iran, which is is basically
Ah, yeah,
what I for me, that's what I did. I ran
yeah.
feelings and from myself and
Mm-hmm.
from God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's yes, it's a story about drinking, but it's really a story about what I was running from. Now
Mm-hmm.
in there, it's not all about that. It's not all doom and gloom and a
No,
drunk
no.
along,
It's your
right?
story, yeah.
It's my story, but I also talk about I lost my mom and my sister who were both just such pillars in my life just
Mm,
in the last few years. And so it talks about grief and it
mm,
talks about, you know, the fire with my husband and
mm-hmm.
son's death and
Mm-hmm.
the grief of that. And um, so, but it also talks about the other side, right? The connection again
Mm-hmm.
with God and getting back into me, coming back into
Mm-hmm.
me through God,
Mm-hmm. Finding your identity back in Christ.
right? And
And
that
that way, he
and that
gave you permission to use your voice, but what did you have to do first? Hear his voice.
yeah,
And how
absolutely.
that helped you to do what you did and downloading this book and sharing it with others. And did you say you have two now or just the one? I mean,
Yeah, I have two. So
okay.
the first book is under my first married name,
Yeah.
Harmer, and it's called Chasing Light, Finding the
Mm,
Way Out of the Shadows. And it's about my walk through depression, anxiety.
mm,
Just a light, small little book.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So those are available on Amazon?
they're available on Amazon, and they're through my website as well,
Okay.
which will
We'll
take
make
you.
sure we put all that in the show notes that we have it for everybody so they can go and
Thank you.
grab the book and support you in this. Um, are you going to write more? I know you love to write. So is there some other downloads coming?
I do love to write, and I'm excited to see if more comes. I mean, I
Mm,
write almost every day. I write,
yeah.
and I have a blog on my website too
Oh,
that
cool. Okay.
because I love that quiet time in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
it's called
Mm-hmm.
Sacred Stillness. So I share on there just anything that comes and
Oh, that's beautiful.
yeah.
That's good. Well, it has been such a pleasure to have you on today. And as we were talking, I have my little um they're cards with scripture on them. And I shuffle them. And so whatever's on top is our scripture for today. And
Oh,
it
nice.
says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. James 1, 2 through 4.
Oh,
Perfect for today.
perfect for today, Laura.
He
Thank
always
you.
knows.
Yes.
Always knows. And I always love to ask one other question. What is something you like to collect?
Oh, I collect
Oh,
rocks, crystals, and yeah, the as soon as the fire happened,
mm-hmm.
I don't know why, I just started I collected rocks all my life as a child. I just
Yeah.
collect little they help me to feel grounded to the earth and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I always have rocks and
Oh,
just
I love that. A
around
part of your
me
life. Yeah.
in
And
my
that's
life.
not, I love that because a lot, I do estate sales and I help set them up and another partner and I, and we run them for people. And I've been amazed at the collection people have. And rocks is a big thing with a lot of people. And shells is another big one.
Yeah,
And you see that in their home and it's neat to hear stories about them because they can tell you where they got that rock and what it
yeah,
meant to them when they got that rock. It's just cool just to
yeah.
see that and go. And I have one on my table right now. I don't know if you ever heard of Walk to Emmaus.
No.
But they were painting rocks and I have that on my desk all and I
Oh,
love it. And it's just a
I
nice
love
flat
that.
smooth stone. And you can carry it in your pocket too if you want, but I just have it here as a reminder, of the cross. And
Yeah.
so I have that on my desk here with me all the time too. But collections are cool. I love to always hear what people love to collect. But thank you today for coming on, sharing your voice. your hard times, things that you've gone through, and how you've overcome and still overcoming, right? We're always healing. And you got to be
Oh,
open to that, and letting the layers peel back. And I think God brings us to a point, and He's like, okay, I want you to use you here because you may reach somebody in the midst of where you are right now. And then He's like, I'm ready to heal some more of your layers. So let's peel another layer back. And
yeah.
it's just so cool to let God work through you like that.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, I hope you have an amazing day, and I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
being on today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining my podcast today. We all have a story to share. Each story has purpose and makes an impact to you, the listener, creating a journey with passion and purpose. The journey we're taking is the journey within you. Please share with others and subscribe below.